On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1979. We're going to be taking a look at Anne Murray, and she's going to be performing You Needed Me. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So we are going to be jumping into this one as normal. I have isolated the vocal as well, but we'll listen to the whole performance and then break it down afterwards. So let's get Anne up on screen, and this is from the Johnny Cash Christmas special show, so you can just see Johnny having just introduced Anne. But let's jump into this and see how she gets on.
I cried a tear, you wiped it dry. I was confused, you cleared my mind. I sold my soul, you bought it back for me and held me up and gave me dignity. Somehow you needed me. You gave me strength to stand alone again, to face the world out on my own again. You put me high upon a pedestal, so high that I could almost see eternity. You needed me, you needed me. And I can't believe it's you, I can't believe it's true. I needed you, and you were there. I finally found someone who really cares.
I'm just going to jump in here. As always, there's a link in the description below so you guys can click on that if you want to go and watch the original video without me interrupting it. So, when we're talking about Anne's voice, the first thing that springs to mind is this contralto range, but just the control that she's got. When we do talk about range, this is one of those songs and performances that is deceptive, because as soon as we start, I'm going to take it all the way back, we have an octave straight off the bat from one note to the next. So when we do go back to the beginning of the performance, there we have it. We can see on the pitch monitoring software, we've got the E3 right at the bottom going all the way up to the E4. So the kind of range that you would just like to span in a whole song, and just throwing this out there with the first two notes of the song. So really impressive, but you'll find this with great singers and the analysis videos that we've done where we have that change of an octave somewhere over the rainbow. For example, Judy Garland having that somewhere and going straight up an octave. It's something that with the great singers you don't notice it because of their control, the consistency that they have to their tone, but it's just great to hear this kind of start to the song, because you know already within just two notes that we're talking about a great singer who's got great control because of the vibrato that she applies on that E4.
You wiped it dry.
And what I'm going to do is just isolate this vocal so that we can listen to the resonance on that low E3.
You wiped it dry. I was confused. You cleared my mind.
So those first four phrases that we have in the verse, singing this, it's an E3. So even when I do it and I go, nah, that sounds like a low note because it is. If we look over on the piano, this is an E3, and the bottom end of the contralto range is often explained or described as going down to F3. So we're a semitone below the F3. And when we're listening to this E3,
I sold my soul.
There's so much tone in there, so much body in the sound, and it's not so low that she's starting to get airy or trying to go, oh, and the tone suffers. It's just the same tone as the rest of her voice, which is great because it shows that she's got all of that control all the way up actually to an A4, I believe, in this performance and in this song. So we've got over an octave's worth of range. Just to throw in there as well, not that we're going to be comparing vocalists, but Karen Carpenter had a really similar resonant sound to her contralto range right at the bottom there. And I would say that she shares a lot in common vocally with Anne in this performance, just that resonance at the low end. If you guys want to watch that analysis video independently, I'll leave a link to it in this video now, so you can click on that. But really similar the way that we've got all the body in the sound. And it's so unique. It stands out so much because it is a low note for a female singer to be singing. And you don't hear it that much. So when Karen did it, when Anne does it, it just takes you a little bit of time to appreciate it, and then you think, well, why does this sound so different to every other vocalist? It's because every other vocalist is probably going to be about an octave higher than this. We can see as well on the pitch monitoring software that we have this slide up to the D4, and this is from the E3. We'll just have a listen to that so you guys can start to relate what you see to what you hear.
You cleared my mind.
And it happens so quickly. It's that, you clear my mind, just like that. So, na na, really quick slide up, but such control, because look at where we end that slide on the D4, just bang on, back down to the C sharp 4 with controlled vibrato, and the vibrato's relatively tight. We're not covering 2 or 3 or 4 semitones here. We do almost get to probably 1.5. We might get to 2, like here, where we ascend with the vibrato. That means that we do just touch that C sharp 4 and the D sharp 4. But such control throughout this whole performance, and it's one of those techniques that Anne can just throw in all the time to get these notes to sing. I've said in other videos about how a lot of country singers or singers who have a background in country music just have great voices, and they get that crossover success just because they're a great vocalist. It doesn't really matter about the genre that they're singing. And certainly here in the UK, we don't get a lot of country music, but we do get to hear voices that have that crossover success. And certainly Anne is one of those that was hugely popular in the country charts, but then that crossed over into the mainstream charts, and I think she's won 4 Grammys, 24 Junos from memory, I was reading earlier, but she's in the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame as well as the Country Music Hall of Fame in Canada. So yeah, just a huge selling artist, but it's just that underlying foundation of great talent, just having the ability vocally to take on any song and having control of this vocal, total control. And considering that she started singing, I think at the age of 15, so you could argue a relatively late starter when we've looked at other singers on the channel who might have started at the age of 6 or 7 or 8. But here, it's just something that Anne obviously has a natural affinity for, especially when you're looking at her pitch accuracy, her control of vibrato, her expression, the way that she holds herself on stage, the way that she just walks through, and you know, there's no bells and whistles here, it's just her voice. But that's the point, that it is so engaging. You listen to this performance, obviously the crowd are totally engaged in this performance, but the way that she looks around and she delivers it, she's just got a natural affinity for not only the vocal delivery but the overall performance of the song. Just listening to the isolated vocal, I always say that a great voice just sounds great without any backing, and that's exactly what this sounds like. So we'll watch it to the end, but just focus in on Anne's voice.
You held my hand when it was cold, when I was lost. You took me home. You gave me hope when I was at the end, and turned my lies back into truth again. You even called me friend. You gave me strength to stand alone again, to face the world out on my own again. You put me high upon a pedestal, so high that I could almost see eternity. You needed me. You needed me. You needed me. You needed me.
And there we have it. I can assure you that the crowd does applaud. This is just the isolated vocal, so I just stopped it before. The crowd is about to erupt. So, what I love about that A4 that we heard right at the top, let me just have a listen. I mean, it's so controlled. That was just an F sharp 4, but as I take it back, we're going to have a little look at, there we go, there's an A4, but let's listen to this again, because it's important to hear the consistency of the vocal, that she's not forcing anything out here. These are notes that you just get the impression are still well within her range, which is hugely impressive considering that we went all the way down to that E3 earlier and now up to the A4. So, you know, best part of an octave and a half higher.
Call me friend, you gave me strength to stand alone again.
And just to point out the pitch accuracy that we've still got going on here with the E4, I did say that she can just enter into a phrase and just nail it without applying that vibrato. Good example there, but just so accurate pitch-wise as well.
To face the world.
Again, this E3 is absolutely nailed on every time, and that's another thing that can be very difficult to do when you're singing in separate octaves, when you're going na na and you're trying to get directly over, if we're looking at the pitch monitoring software, but mentally you're trying to get exactly to where that pitch is from na 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 na. You know, there's a lot of space there. So it's almost like trying to hit a target. But just fast forwarding it to that A4 that I was just talking about.
So high that
And she actually had a little slide up there. But listen to how comfortable this sounds.
So high that I could almost see eternity.
And you can hear how, when she does go a little bit higher, she releases a little bit more into her head voice.
So high.
So high. It's now kind of up here, and then she gets obviously back down.
That I could almost.
And just look at these notes as she descends. Bang on the E4, C sharp 4 and B3. Just to mention before we finish that Anne was having vocal lessons at the age of 15 and she didn't get a break early on in her teenage years. She actually taught PE for a year and she had auditioned for a TV show called Sing Along Jubilee. And it's not something that we have here in the UK or had here in the UK. I'm assuming it's something in Canada. But she didn't get accepted, unfortunately for that. Taught PE for a year, and by the way, she's a keen golfer, and I think she plays off 11. So anybody that plays golf will know what an impressive handicap that is. I do play a little bit myself, so yes, a very impressive standard that Anne plays to. Anyway, back to the music. After a year of teaching PE, she then got accepted by Sing Along Jubilee, and the musical director of that show said to Anne that she should move to Toronto and record an album, which she did, and that album was called What About Me, and that was successful, and the song of the same name from that album turned into a big hit in Canada. She moved on to Capitol Records for the next album, and that was in 1969, and that was called This Way Is My Way, and that was the album that had Snowbird on it, and that song turned into a huge hit, and it was a crossover hit, so it meant that Anne was in huge demand for TV shows, and Glenn Campbell's Good Time Hour, she also appeared on that, and we can see that she's on the Johnny Cash Christmas special here. But having that crossover success, I mean, since that album and that song, she really went from strength to strength. And you can see just in this performance how accomplished her vocal is and how engaging the performance is. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this video for me to take a look at. As always, keep those requests and suggestions coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, as always, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!